My name is Meshack Mbokota. I'm a gynaecologist from South Africa and Pretoria. I needed formal training in a structured manner that deals with aesthetic gynecology. And because I'm in South Africa and bulk of our training is European based, I found it easier to go with ISAC. I think the techniques for doing vaginal tightening with perineal repair, we've been doing it differently in the past, and the techniques that I've learned here will make it very easier for me because we do have a lot of those cases back home. Basically already started putting up offices, setting up procedure rooms.
Munhu wa xisati loko a humesa tandla u humesa ko tala rin'we ivi loko ku ya va na mahahlo loko ri hlangana na mbewu ya xinuna ri tsemeka hi le xikarhi loko ku va two se ku huma leswi hi nge identical twins. The second form ya mahahlo hi loko munhu waloye wa xisati ku ri na ku a va a humese tandla rin'we ku hume mambirhi kumbe manharhu ivi ya hlangana na timbewu tinharhu ta munhu wa xinuna ivi ku va na ma-triplets kumbe loko ri 4 matandza ku ta va quads njalo njalo until you get to leswi va swi vitanaka the couplets. The couplets basically means 10. Loko va ku 9 va ta ku nano, loko va ku 8 octa, because it's the Roman way of naming it.
Hi sweswo ke Afrika-Dzonga ri perile wa loko ri perile manje kuma Dr Mbokota la okay swi ri namuntlha mi te hi murivirisi dokodela hi ndlela leyi ya vhela Afrika-Dzonga hi vanghana kusuka sweswi ku fika awara ya 9. Mina ni Mnyamatsi Ngceche Makula Nkontro hi vanghana hi ndlela leyi ya vhela Afrika-Dzonga cancer mi nga joina ka tiplatform to hambanahambana. Mina vhele mi nga na hina hi ndlela yeleyo vhele mi nga yingisela kumbe mi ka tlhami futhi mi hi languta kusuka ka Facebook, mi hi languta kusuka ni le ka Twitter, mi hi languta nakambe kusuka ni le ka YouTube, mi tlhela futhi mi hi languta nakambe kusuka ka LinkedIn. Ha khensa n'wana wa vona hi loyi vhele i malunga ri navelani rifumo a khensa hi rifumo na ku va mi se mi joyinini hi ndlela leyiwani ri pela hi ndlela leyiwani hi ka ri nghena ka n'hweti yintshwa, n'hweti ya ku languta mhaka ya ndzhakawerhu ni mfuwo etikweni ra Afrika-Dzonga, leswi naswona vhele swi va ka swi ri swin'wana swa matimu ya tiko reri dokodela. Hi vulavula hi matimu ya tiko ra Afrika-Dzonga. Awu barule ri perile
Riperile DJ mi pfukile kumbe xana?
Hi pfuke hi matimba lamakulu swinene u dlaya ku hlaya tibuku a swa fani.
A ri dyondza hi luma na
Se loko onge malembe ya nkarhi ya wena bela ku hala phela ni half 80 dokodela.
half 80 so man more than half 100 so
A ni languterini nhlamulo yaleyo. Na vitwa dog mi ta pfukile.
hawa no ha hlayisiwile oxygen ya ha ri ya mahala so swo gungula a swi tala a swi fanelangi swi va kona.
Hi mina kumbe loko mhaka ya ntungu loyi hi nga langutana na wona a wu si ehla ngopfu dog kambe onge kumbe se hi lo tolovela ku hanyana na swona manjeni tinhlayahlayo ta ha ri henhla ngopfungopfu ka vanhu lava hundzaka miseveni ta ha ri henhla kumbexana ti nga va ti ehlinyana ta vanhu lava kumbexana va karhi va tlulelaka hi xitsongwatsongwana lexiwani kambe swi ti komba onge a ha swi beli bembele ku fana na le ku sungule dog.
Now look vanhu lava lovaka obviously there's a lag maybe 2 to 3 weeks. So because a ni ri vanhu va fane va rhanga va vabya va nghena xibedhlele and then va lova va ri xibedhlele so ku na lag about 2 to 3 weeks. So where you saw the highest numbers that the infections, the deaths from those infections, you'll see them 3 weeks later. So what you need to be looking at i ku langusa the rate ya positive test. So for example, look when we 1,000 tests, I think I need to be able to be positive. So for as long as the positive rate are more than 5%, we are still in a wave.
Okay.
Yingaba iri stabilizing or what they call it plateaus.
Yeah.
But because I think the last time I checked, the positive rate was still above about 22%. And ideally, when you can go back to level one, you need to be at 5% or less. But another the problem iku kuna fatigue, kuna COVID fatigue, and then kuna this anti-vaccine movements. And I think people would talk about why are Europe stadiums
Hey.
and whatever.
Yeah.
The answer is they have vaccinated. There's no answer. Say la loko va la ku vona ku loko ni vaccinator va ri ni ta va na cancer, va ri ni ta va na lexi, va ri ni ta va na lexi. You know, a ni vulavula na one of my colleagues tolo ku loko HIV yi sungula in the late 80s, early 90s, we had the same stories. Ku virus leyi yi suka kwihi. The West, the white people have brought it, the West has brought it, and what have you, and what have you. The reality ku HIV are course lots of
Yeah.
people are still infected, but people are taking antiretrovirals, no problem. Kuri ku le a ku sunguleni they were refusing to take them. So the same thing applies to this vaccination program. And we've said it here on this platform. Ku hava n'wana in South Africa loyi a nga nghena xikolo a nga ya ka grade 1 a ri hava khadi ra vaccination. People who have traveled into the continent, they will never travel va nga vaccinatang against yellow fever.
Yeah.
Sometimes na cholera. So suddenly n'wana ku no mara leyiwani vaccine yi endliwe hi xipidi. No ku do you know ku every season ya flu there's a new vaccine. So it means
Is
that
it?
vaccine yi endliwa within 6 months.
Oh. Is
Yeah,
it?
because the flu viruses that mutate. So they touch it just like this COVID virus. They kuna another variant in South Africa.
The C.1.2.
Yeah, yeah, and these variants will not develop if people are not getting infected because the variants. You see, the virus can only multiply inside a human being. So look, if people don't get infected, the variants will not develop. But for as long as people get infected and refuse to be vaccinated for various reasons, which is their right,
Yeah.
but then they mustn't complain ku ntungu awufambi. So we must accept it. It's going to be a pandemic. So you see, the countries where there are no civil liberties, they've done away with it. They just force people to do things and it ends there.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, kuna COVID fatigue, people are tired, but the reality, the virus is there, people get sick and people are dying.
Ni mbala tinjhovo dokodela ko ka mi nga ti voni laha ni nga tshama kona so i n'hweti ya kona i heritage month se tinjhovo ma swi ta ku tinjhani ta hlupha ni kombela ku tshamisa sweswiwani
Se va ri mi timbala hi September ntsena.
a hi timbarini na sungurikwani loko hi ye kwahala ka mujaji se mi lava ku he la vumbala xin'wana la ndzeni heritage month doc swi vula hi leswiwani ka hi nga sigena kahle ku mhaka siku ra namuntlha a hi va tsundzuxeni nakambe ku ri ya khumba mhaka ya menopause madamba siku ra namuntlha kumbexani hi nga khumba timhaka ta leswi swi nga xiswona ku na new year yi taku n'hweti leyi nga ka yona musi ya September ka vukhongeri byo karhi
Yeah, kuna a new year ya majuda bange i Rosh Hashanah.
oh
Yi ta ka Gregorian calendar leyi hi tirhisaka ku ta va ku ri ti 6 ta September yi hela hi ti 8 ta September.
yeah
So it's the first and the second day ta n'hweti ka voho, that's a new year.
wow
And then 8 days later, then baba na a very important day in the Jewish calendar bange Yom Kippur.
Yom Kippur yeah
Yom Kippur, it's a day of atonement of sins. For laba mga hlaya Bibele ka Old Testament, the book of Leviticus. On that day of atonement, the priest uya a Jerusalem aya a tempeleni, and then each tribe or each family ayiva representiwe hi munhu abaku a take pilgrimage aya to the temple, and then in that temple va teka mbuti. Mbuti leyi un'wana na un'wana u fika a veka swidyoho swa muti wakwe ehenhla ka yona, and then symbolically mbuti leyi yi khayimiwa yi huma loko se swi vekiwile swidyoho leswi.
Swi boha ku va mbuti dokodela?
Ku va ku ri mbuti. So that's why the term scapegoat, where there's the term scapegoat, that's where it comes from. That's where it comes from.
Okay.
Se mbuti leyi then ya khayimiwa yi huma out of the city, va pfala city gate ku ya le handle, and ko tala a yi hela yi ri in the mountain of the skulls kumbe lava nge hi le Golgotha, yi hela yi fele kona.
Oh.
So you can see the similarity, how Jesus was crucified, because he carried the cross right through out of the gate, and then he was crucified in the mountain of the skulls outside, just like the scapegoat, because he had to carry the sins of everyone.
Wow.
So
Scapegoat.
Yom Kippur, that's where they celebrate ku swidyoho swa tiko swi rivaleriweni. That's where the tradition ya ku the high priest ambala a big robe leyi nga na a rope ntambu yo leha leyi nga na ti-bell. Waneri a fane a nghena in the temple ka what is called the Holy of Holies.
Yeah.
And le ka the Holy of Holies a ku nghena yena ntsena. Se ntambu liya na tibele letiya a yi salela handle ku loko a karhi a busy a ri ku khongeleni a ri ku offereni, hala handle va tatwa tibele va swi tiva ku wa hanya. Loko swo endleka ku a va a nga tenganga somewhere, ivi a lovela le ndzeni, tibele letiya ti ta miyela, ivi va n'wi koka hi ntambu liya a huma. So that's why, so when you see the Pope and the bishops, ambarisiwa that thing with the rope on the side. But you see the Holy of Holies, aneri yive yi pfuleka when Jesus died on the cross, and the curtain in the middle of the temple yi handzuka hi le xikarhi i ku va ku va na earthquake, so that Holy of Holies became then applicable or accessible to you and I, so we can pay directly. We don't need a priest to go on our behalf.
Doc. I comment on that. You can see like do this maka Yom Kippur. Okay. Doc ka sugana mtafela ay ngene ka tlhoko maka ina vela swara ha ile skumba ka ba manana vela tani ntorovelo. I ka ri khesa ngana mngana ina vela ya ba ta ila ka ri vatsala ka ri ina n'wina vana magunele ke see the fate ko enjoy the badaba sugana montla. Doc ina ngata maka ngwani ya nkoka swinene ngopfu maka menopause.
Yeah.
Menopause ku endleka yini dokodela, yini loko ku endleka hi sungule kwala hi tlhantlha kahle kumbexana ku va hi kota ku swi twisisa ku ri na hi vulavula yini menopause?
Okay, menarche, it's the beginning of menstruation, right? Menopause, that the menstruation pauses, it stops. So menarche is the beginning of the childbearing age. Menopause is the end of the childbearing age.
Wow.
So ka menarche ku va na ti-hormones leti fomekaku, and then suddenly the young girl develops breasts and everything else, and then they start having their periods, and then they become what you would call somebody who is in the childbearing age. If they engage in unprotected intercourse, they will fall pregnant.
Okay.
Now, ka menopause, the menstruation ya hela, meaning ku matandza lawa a va beburiwe va ri na wo se ya herile, so ku ya nkarhini swa stopa. Now that period before loko se ti sungula ku hunguteka until ti stopa, we call it the climacteric. That's what frustrates a lot of women, because periods are changing, they get hot flashes, they get dryness everywhere, mood swings, short temper. Ta va kuma loko mi tshame loko n'we van'wani mi twa xirhami vo va khome fene va blowa moya, and short term memory ya koho is such that va vula xilo sweswi the next thing va xi rivele.
Yo, how is that possible though?
About to endlisa, it's because then issues of bone degeneration, marambu ya sungula ku va weak, and then the period stops, and then those things can continue, and the ages where it happens, it could be any time between the age of 41 and 55, depending ka the genetics ta vanhu na leswi va nga xiswona within their families.
Yeah.
So which means babasati then they would live more than half of their life in the menopause.
So
Now,
swa endleka ku va na van'wana kumbe un'wana loyi a vonaka menopause hi xihatla ku tlula loyi un'wanyana. A and B, lowun'wana ngo tla reacha menopause and then B a hlwela nyana. Ku va ku ri mhaka yini swa mi nga ku swi vulaka kumbe xana swa mhaka ya ku hala kaya ku ri na ba njhani?
yeah, the average age is between 41, some people up to 51, and then we do take it up to about 55. That's the average age ya vanhu to get menopause. But there are those people who can get menopause before the age of 41. And now here we're talking about menopause leyi humelelaku natural.
Okay.
Kuna menopause leyi humelelaku because kwendliwe swin'wana, we'll discuss it later on.
Yeah.
So kuna van'wana va va ka menopause as early as 35 years, we call them early menopause,
Oh.
right? Then kuna van'wana va nga ta va na menopause because va ve na operation va susiwe marhanga, the ovaries. Van'wana va va na menopause because, for example, a va ri na cancer yo karhi ivi va endliwa radiotherapy kumbe chemotherapy, ivi the ovaries ti vaviseka, then they go into menopause. Van'wani va va ka menopause because ku na treatment leyi va yi tekaku leyi affectaku the ovaries from functioning, right? But the symptom ta koho swa fana. It's dryness in the skin, dryness in the vagina, mood swings, short-term memory loss. Marambu ya sungula ku va brittle because a va ha absorbi kahle calcium, ya tshoveka easy, and so forth and so forth. So baba na ti-mood swings, baba very short-tempered. So loko va vuya ndlwini ku ri na ku va khensa ku vana va hisanga yindlu, va ta vilela ku xikotlelo la xi tshamanga la xi fanele ku xi tshama kona.
Doug. So ku fambelana njhani mhaka ya marhambu ya vona na mhaka ya menopause, doc?
Hi mhaka ku estrogen, that hormone va nge i estrogen, yi pfuneta ku va kota ku absorba calcium.
Oh yeah.
Loko estrogen liya se yi shorta,
Yeah.
calcium absorption a ya ha ri kona, and then marambu ya sungula ku va brittle, ya sungula ku va weak, then va va na ti-joint pains loko va khudlunyeka nyana or vo wa or va suleka nyana, ku na ku va suleka ko tshoveka, especially on the wrist, the ankle, and the hip.
So peri-menopause, post-menopause i xilungu lexi dokotela hi vulavula yini kwala?
All right. Perimenopause means around the menopause.
Okay.
Yi fana na what I called the climacteric. So it's the period just before the menopause, the actual cessation of the periods start, and then just after, when a person is now in the menopause. And post-menopause is after the menopause, meaning we call yuku uleka menopause loko ku ve ku u tshame, loko u ri na a womb u tshame 6 months u nga voni ti-period, and ku nga ri mhaka ku u endliwe operation or ku na treatment leyi u yi tekaku.
Yep.
That's when you are officially in the menopause. Now, the important thing is once munhu are officially in the menopause, a nga ha fanelangi a vona ti-period.
Okay.
Loko o vona a huma ngati yo karhi, that is abnormal. You need ku a kamberiwa to make sure ku a nga develop cancer
Yeah.
inside the lining ya xibelekelo.
Doc, se munhu a nga ta ka n'wina fika ku u lava ku kamberiwa swin'wana leswi fambelanaka na menopause laha mi kotaka na ku n'wi diagnose ku ri no hi yona leyiwani a hi yona, munhu a nga teka riendzo rero a ya dokoteni?
Yes, to be sure, because one, vo tala va nga swi tivi ku why va va na these symptoms. Van'wani vo hleketa ku marhambu yo pandza, va hleketa ku va nghena hi arthritis, va hleketa ku leswi va rivalaka there's something wrong with their brain, all those kind of things. So it's important to contextualize it, to say, no, the symptoms leti nga na to hinkwato i ti-symptoms ta menopause. So to confirm ku hi yona, since wa vona period, I taking ngati and look at your hormone levels. Those hormone levels ti ta hi komba ku whether you are in the menopause or not. And then loyi already say the period ti nga stopa, it becomes very easy to know ku these are menopausal symptoms, and then say ti stopile. But ko tala ku va lava va ha nghenaku, and a ni ri vo tala ku na ku chava. I'm gonna send like a 40 manje, what my life is going to change ku ya humelela yini. And I understand it because va Brian kwala makaya mina kuna mintungunyana yin'wani yi nga koho where people would say, you know, once a woman reaches the menopause, therefore she must never engage in intimacy.
Yeah.
Those kind of things, people looking for excuses to have additional wives. And so it creates a lot of anxiety on the women. Their self-confidence on their sexuality also diminishes because I'm sure whether they are still the same person or not, and that reassurance is important.
So ntiyiso wa kona hi wini Doc ka timhakeni ta mhaka ya intimacy loko munhu a ri ka xiyimo xexiyani xa menopause, ntiyiso wa mhaka i yini sweswi ma ha ku swi tshaka ku ri
Ntiyiso wa mhaka i ku it's a fallacy ku they should not engage in intercourse because they're just as normal as they were before they had their menopause.
and the dryness?
The dryness is something that we can deal with. It's something that we can deal. That's why kubana the hormone supplements. That's why vanhu va dya mitsumbula and all sorts of things, phytoestrogens.
Okay, 26 after 8 o'clock komba ku ri vhele ku haxela thwi hi ndlela leyo vhele a hi kandisangi mina na dokodela va karhi hi ku tisela nongono ku ri vhele hi ndlela leyiwani ra munhu rin'wana na rin'wana vhele hi ndlela leyi Afrika-Dzonga kasi ka no ka rhumela swivutiso kwala ka comment section swi nga khathaleki ku ri na u wa hi languta u ri kwini ku fana na un'wana loyiwani i mani lo nga ri na Samuel Sambo u le ka Twitter kasi ke un'wana loyiwani Noza Fanuel yena u le ka YouTube hi loyi Noza ma n'wi vona u le ka YouTube se ke rhumela xivutiso ku fana na Tazan Tembani na yena vhele u le ka YouTube kasi ke un'wana hi loyiwani a nga le ka Facebook i mani loyi nga rena Akani Meshack Mbokota a ku ri thanks dokodela makari ma hi dyondzisa madamu van'wana na mun'wana. Se dokodela ku endleka yini loko munhu manje a teka nkarhi wo leha swinene ngopfu kuma maybe a fika malembe lama ya nga tolovelekangiki ku va leswaku ri a va a vona masiku kambe yena a va komba swilo hinkwaswo swi tshamisekile xi kona xiyimo xa muxaka wolowo u kuma kumbexani no nyika xikombiso a ku va ma 60 kwala ya va ma 62 a karhi a nga ri tsivaka menopause swa endleka?
Loko hi swi vona swi ri tano, we must first confirm ku munhu loyiwani a nga vangi ka menopause ivi after that a continue as leswi hi nge i postmenopausal bleeding rather than menstruation, because postmenopausal bleeding lane it's not normal i vuvabyi, either there's a cancer somewhere or there's something in the body that's producing estrogens that's not supposed to be producing estrogens. And so that person needs to be examined. The same applies to somebody who has irregular periods before the time of menopause. Kuna lava we spoke about people lava nga na a condition called polycystic ovaries some time ago. They have very irregular periods. Sometimes about 4-5 months banga boni period. and then 1 to 3 tibako. Sometimes they fall pregnant, bangar aware kuba pregnant because batolebele ukutshama bangaboni the period, and those are caused by the fact that ubana this syndrome X or metabolic syndrome, polycystic ovarian syndrome, leyi endla kuku the functioning at ovaries iba irregular. So those people, you would examine them first and look at their hormones. The hormones takubzela whether this is menopause, whether this is polycystic ovaries, whether this is syndrome X kumbe metabolic syndrome. So not everybody lo a stop with the period for 6 months is in the menopause. But one, for example, look baterisa night yo kungwata yona, especially le at 3 months, nabo 1 year 2 months. Masukula wana that implant bange leswi va hoxa kulabo abokweni. They can stop bangaboni the period for karolea simply because baterisa sure. So we just hope ku ba rivalo ku xikola abokweni.
But then loko xi swi endlela leyo a hi menopause yaleyo.
No, it doesn't. It's not menopause, but it doesn't mean kumundu ashtirisile. Let's say are 39, if she tama shibako until about 44, and then they are continuing about the period. It's possible they went into the menopause, but not sure.
Yo, kumbexani ku nga va nkarhi wa kahle doc ku va hi hlamula mingisirani wani ntshembo za tsala la anga na xiphiqo xa ku nga ku hlaya vito ra Nomhle Dlamini or doc, apologies to interject. I'm 33 but I don't see my periods regularly. I have 2 kids and I only learned of my second pregnancy when I was 7 months pregnant. I had no idea ku ntikile. My periods comes randomly and I haven't consulted. Mi nga ku pfuna doc?
Yeah, I think it's what I was just saying now. Vanhu vo tala who lava va kuna these irregular periods but tshama ku 3-4 months bangaboni period.
Yeah.
Some of them bana what we call polycystic ovaries. Some of them kuna lava bangana a condition leyi vitana ku i Asherman syndrome. La ukuma ku the 2 linings ta xibelekelo ti damaralanile so ati pfuleki and therefore it doesn't allow menstrual flow to go through. But those ones will struggle to fall pregnant. But kotala kufana na Nomhle, the reality is that she's most likely one of those who would have a hormonal imbalance, probably due to polycystic ovaries, kumbe what we call syndrome X or metabolic syndrome.
Yeah.
And that may be the reason why she's not seeing her periods regularly. And at the times when she ovulates, that's why she probably would not have known that she was pregnant for Garolea, because the period utolobele tingati so loko tingati wo swi teka swi ri normal.
All right. Swi kona swivutiso vhele swi nga kona laha tlhelo Afrika-Dzonga kasi ke u nga ri khale ta va karhi hi swi hlamula kambe ke mi nga hi rhanga hi noma ti vuya na swivutiso swi nga swi rhumela vhele kwala ka comment section swi nga khathaleki ku ri na u hi languta ka platform yini riperini.
Khato Financial Solutions. Instant cash at lower interest rate. Fast and efficient service. Systems are available to ensure professional, cost-effective, and authorized transactions. We are able to do debit check, debit, and POS. We cater for everyone with financial income. We are a solution to your emergency financial requirements. Amongst others, we assist SASSA grants beneficiaries, developmental credit that supports students. We do corporate loans to assist small businesses. Drop us an email, info@katofinancials.co.za. Kato Financial Solutions is a registered credit provider.
xana u lava ku endla ku na swinavetiso ti hlanganisi na yini vuxokoxoko byi kwala henhla ka xikili xa wena mixer mi famba kwala hansi kasi ke doc ya swi hlayini swivutiso leswona vhele ka ri nkhensa vayingiseri lava vala va nga na hina ka suka ndhawu to hambanahambana kumbe mi nge rhanga hi khensani ku na xivutiso swin'wana xi vonele henhla mani vona onge lexi xa nkhensani xi nga rhanga hi xona doc xa nkhensani Gillian Mahange or I did mhaka ya hysterectomy era nhlupha rito rero yo in 2008 ba endla mhaka ya hysterectomy but the ovaries ta vona vhele va vula mhaka swa ku ri a ti nga susiwanga and I'm currently having the following symptoms timhaka the hot flashes forgetfulness dryness and sometimes fatigued ku nga va ku ri mhaka ya menopause leswi doc.
The short answer is yes.
Okay.
Hysterectomy, it's hysteros. It's a Greek word for a womb, hysteros, and then tomi is to cut. So that's what they did. Yes, the ovaries tingaba tisele, but usually look ufika ka malembe ya normal the way out Africa ka menopause they will stop functioning regardless of whether the womb is there or not, and then you'll get those symptoms that bangatlamsela. So yes, bana these are the signs, not symptoms ta menopause, and those hot flashes can be irritating.
Vale ka menopause kahle kahle ku va hlamula.
Yes.
All right, kasi ke un'wana hi loyi mingiseri I mani loko nga ri yena Susan Shivambu u vula mhaka swa ku ri ni ve na mhaka ya ectopic pregnancy last year January. Since then ni ve na irregular periods. Since April I stopped seeing my periods until last month when I took red tablets, the prevention, and my periods came back. Yo, swa kanganyisa leswi doc. Ku endleke yini?
No, as kanganyisi.
Sure.
You see, mapilisi layo kunguhata. The red tablets, it's a placebo. Atina nchumu.
Hi leswi swa ku placebo leswi swa ku ri loko ri kha ni famba na n'wina ivi ni twa ni khome hi mitsakamiso ni jika hi nsinya na n'we mi khoma hi mitsakamiso.
Well, placebo we call it a placebo effect.
Yeah.
The reason why babeka those red tablets, endlela ku tolovela ku nwa pilisi every day. So, but those red tablets, they don't have a hormone, they don't have anything.
Yeah.
Kuba chukela kumeshana look very sweet, another coating, and then that's when, because you are not taking the hormones, that's when you'll see your period. So
Yo.
yeah, so akuna ayana nchuma pilisi lawa, and so I wanna yanga endla kuba period, but it's a placebo effect in the mind that said I've taken this tablet, so I'm seeing my period.
Oh yeah.
And this is what I've always said about the link between a woman's mind and her womb. When you are unhappy, the womb responds either by having heavy periods or less periods.
Oh.
Yeah, and that's why some people say they will struggle to fall pregnant simply because they are anxious, not because there's anything wrong with all.
Wow. Xivutiso kusuka ka Noza Fanuel doc ntshemba msevi nga mixinu xi langutisini. Noza va vutisa mhaka yin'wana ya nkoka swinene ngopfu va ri xana loko munhu a ri ka menopause swa koteka ku va swa ku ri a donateriwa matandza ku ri a va pregnant ke?
Okay. Donor eggs.
Yeah.
And donor sperm and donor embryos. It's all possible scientifically. What you need to navigate through ikutiva kutanda leriya rita nati chromosomes nati gene tala roma kuko aira wena.
Yo.
So the genetics or the origin of the child then is the person lo anga donate tandla and your husband sperm. Even if she implantiwa inside your womb where you are a surrogate. So technically it's possible, It's just that there's a lot of other ethical issues that have to be considered. And the biggest one, they will try not, obviously, they won't show you where the egg comes from. Imani anga donate tandla hiku. Loko o swi tiva siku rin'wana u ta claima ku n'wana i wa yena and u ta va nga hembi.
Yeah.
And that will create problems. So sometimes, but no, I'll ask my sister to donate the egg, yes, because mara siku mu holovaka, it becomes a problem. Ya ku say n'wana i wa mani. So yes, it's possible, but the ethical issues also, you need to think them through very hard before you make the decision.
Yo, Doc, you didn't be better, Makale.
Bibele is silent.
Yeah.
He's silent when it comes to issues that assisted reproduction.
Yeah.
And the reason why you're silent, Hiku, obviously, technology at a particular time may not have been where it is now.
Yeah.
Or lava va nga tshama hansi, the 70 lava nga tshama hansi va hlawulela matsalwa lava nga hoxa bibeleni, anything lexi a va nga xi twisisi, they may have excluded it because of the knowledge of the time of that time. Now remember, what can be a fact now could be false in 20 years' time.
Yeah.
So the important thing is biblically, and I'll speak biblically, mwana ukumeka correctly in what situation. And biblically, both in the Christian Bible or in the Muslim Quran or in the Torah, in the Jewish religion, ufane aba within a marriage, which then means the egg and the sperm needs to be coming from the partners laba bangamtshadweni, or lokube kulombiwa somewhere ahandle. Let it be understood kuba no those ethical complications and blah blah blah.
Wow.
Because the ethical complications that are ku se n'wana wa mani loko ve ku tandza I rasisi wa wehe kumbe tandza a hi swi tivi ku ri huma kwihi.
Sure.
So that's the thing. The second thing is as I said, what is fact now does not necessarily mean it will be fact in 30 years' time. It may have completely changed, because remember, God has promised there are things that he will reveal, and he may not reveal it at the same time to all of us. He will reveal it at different times. You and I are called upon to do whatever we're doing. Where you are fulfilling a particular purpose, because that's where God put you. I'm fulfilling a particular purpose, that's where God put me. So there's nothing wrong with science going that direction. That's why certain things, so far na cloning, na stem cell harvesting, especially when it comes to creation of organs. Ukumaku, most governments are still restricting because they feel at the moment you are now getting closer to want to become a god.
David Doug. Kuna xivutiso laniwani vhele kusuka ka innocent ntsako u ri ku humelela yini hi lava va kunguhataka ivi makumu sweswo swi hetelela swi endla ku ri va nga voni masiku a swi va affect ke?
The short answer is no. Vanhu vo tala lava va nga voniki masiku loko va kunguhata hi lava tirhisaka leswi hi nge i ti-progesterone only hormones, either in a form of injection kumbe that implant leyi ni vulavula hi yo earlier on.
Okay.
Now, because the way that the hormones work, they end up with the lining of the womb is very thin, and look very thin, then the person doesn't see the period. The minute we stop up, and the hormones come back, and the cycle returns, everything returns to normal. The only thing that you don't know is, Yvonne, you will not know exactly when they would return to fertility, as opposed to lava tirhisaku mapilisi kumbe patch.
ntsako mgani kubayi u vula mhaka swa ku ri xana ke dokodela i ntiyiso ku ri swakudya leswi hi swi dyaku swi nga endla ku vavasati va hatla va fika ka menopause na?
Not necessarily swakudya, but exposure to radiation.
Yeah.
And radiation yikulu ka vanhu va xisati sweswiwani i ti-microwave leti va swekaku hi tona. And that's why microwave loko u yi sweka yi fanele va yi pfariwile. Loko yi pfula ya timeka, because that radiation can affect the ovaries. The same radiation leyi u yi kumaku when you go to x-rays, the radiation leyi u yi kumaku loko u tshama hansi ka tintambu ta gezi, especially the pylons, and the radiation that you come across as you walk everywhere else, that may have an impact, but not the food. But lexi endlaku ku munhu a vona menopause i mhaka ku matandza lawa a nga beburiwa a ri na woho se ya herile. These other things leswi ni nga vulavula hi swona swi nga va swi pfuneta ku heta matandza lawa or ku affecta the ovaries over time, but not necessarily swakudya.
Doc, miri ku na loko mo susa ti-ovaries ku mhaka ya xiyimo xo karhi xi endlaka swa ku ri loyi wa xisati a hetelela ti kuma ka xiyimo xa muxaka wolowo, ku susiwa ti-ovaries swi ta endla ku ri a yima ku vona masiku. Ni mi twe kahle ni tshemba tani kambe
Yes.
so ya kwini matandza lama mi nga tshama mi hi byela ku ri ya timiliyoni leti n'wansati loko a velekiwa u va a ri na wona, yo vhe ya nyamalala kumbe a ya ha koti ku tumbuluka hi mhaka swa ku susiwe ti-ovaries letiya?
Kambe hi xichangani ovari va ri yini?
Sweswiya
Va ri i rhanga ni. And ku ze va ku i rhanga i mhaka ku rhanga hala ndzeni ka roho ku tele what looks like eggs. So matandza lawa ya va ri ndzeni ka ovari. So loko u susa ovari u suse everything.
Okay, sa twala doc. Eka Health Talk with DJ Brian na Dr Mfundisi Mbokota, mhakankulu ku nga ri ku goboza, ha dyondza swinene. Swi nga khathaleki ku ri thopiki yelana na rimbewu rihi kumbe rihi. A no hundzisa hungu laha dokodela kusuka ka Roni Miyambo eka Majozi Xambuleleni. Kasi ke ku na n'wana Khensani A Chabalala, ni tshemba hi swi n'wi hlamula loyi doc u ri I did the test early this year. Mi nge n'wi veka la ka screen swi kota ku vonaka inaka. And then tikomba mhaka sa ku ri I'm on menopause. My problem now is I sweat a lot, not for a specific period, but non-stop, even when it is cold. Ka menopause le doc kumbe
hot flashes.
kasi ti va kona na hambi ku titimela ne?
That's why loko n'we mi twa xirhami vo va khome ti-fan.
Se munhu loyi u ta swi tiva njhani doc ku ri i menopause kumbe i high blood pressure?
High blood pressure a yi julukisi munhu.
Okay.
High blood pressure a yi julukisi munhu.
Okay. Mi hlamurile. Ni yima kwalaya. Se swa koteka hi xidokodela to stimulate or to initiate natural menopause without having to remove the ovaries. Let's take a mentally challenged woman who cannot take care of themselves during the periods or older than 60 years, then menopause is delayed. Manguta doc Uriagwe.
Yeah, okay. What happens ka vana va mentally challenged?
Yeah.
Loko va ri vanhwanyana, loko ku fika nkarhi where they're gonna start seeing their periods and vatswari va vona ku this child cannot manage her periods. Va n'wi yisa ka dokodela, and then dokodela does an application. There's a legal process ya ku apply. Because you see, a mentally ill person, loko a fane a decide deriwa ku laphiwa.
Yeah.
Sometimes the state has to come in as an intermediary to make sure ku n'wehe mi lava ku n'wi nyika treatment leyi. Are you doing it because it's necessary, or are you doing it for your own convenience?
Okay. Yo.
right? So there's an application process where then you have two doctors who then certify kuno yes n'wana loyi u mentally ill a nge swi koti ku ti hlayisa for the period and swi nga endleka a tikuma bihe emirini swi nga tiveki, and then that form can a third doctor can then do the process, or either and preferably to remove her womb,
Sure.
and in that way then she won't have periods, and if she engages in sexual intercourse she won't fall pregnant.
Yo.
So that process happens.
Itlhela rin'wana ra mhaka leyi doctor. Yo, yeah, and to go and nga ehleketanga mara se loko va yi tisini mingisero ra cancer mingiseko va tise mhaka leyiwani na swi twa ku dokodela n'wina ma swi tiva leswi mara a ni nga yi langutangi mativa ku na Mgwena, your namesake doc, Mgwena Meshack Mbokota u ri okay munhu a ri ka menopause wa ha ri na nkhinkhi eka timhakeni ta masangu swi tivi ku ta kwela Mbokota kumbe se swi fana loko n'wana a nga tiviki nchumu, especially lava nga ka malembe ya ku ringana 50 and above, because van'wani vanhu a va ha lavi ku kula hambi a ri generationally okay a ni swi tivi ku vula yini laha cause I don't know na mina kona a la ku yini laha.
No,
Yeah.
my hlamu. It's one watsunuka le kusunguleni ni ku there's always been this excuse ya ku once women reach menopause
Aba
they should not
tsakeli.
engage in intercourse, and therefore people vala ku ya teka xinjinana.
Oh, xinjinana doctor. Eh.
Now, here is the reality. Okay? Then you wouldn't have women running around with 20-year-olds, 40, 45-year-olds, 50-year-olds running around with 25-year-old men, maybe at the Ben 10, if they did not have libido, kumbe energy, and a drive to have sexual intercourse,
Okay.
right? So the truth of the matter, they may be in the menopause, but the desire, and when they have sufficient testosterone and the libido is there, sometimes it's even better because aba harina fear ya ku va ta va pregnant. They are much more relaxed and much more free around that time. So there's no need. All that needs to happen is to assist them with the physical issues that they have. Just as much as men, when they reach a particular age, they suffer from erectile dysfunction and they go and get injections and things like that. Now, one of them may just need that assistance, just like as men, it would happen to men. But there's no difference between them and men when they're on the other side of 40 or the other side of 50.
All right. Doc, mhaka ya matlelelo ya vona loko va reach menopause, does it get anyway affected? Mhaka ya the sleeping pattern?
The sleeping pattern gets affected simply because there's winter. Munhu o juluka non-stop. Se ula ku susa mkumba. Loyi a nga tlela na yena u twa xirhami.
Eish.
And then that's the one problem. Then the next problem is kuna fatigue, ba karhala quite often, and they may not even know what to do to get rid of the fatigue. So kumaku, they take a lot of naps during the day, and then suddenly come the evening, they can't fall asleep. So the pattern does change, but once they start on the treatment which gives them hormone supplements and all of that, things return to normal.
Doc Xikonkong a hi hlamuleni loyi muyingiseri tiyiselani u ri minjhani doc na DJ Brian a ku ri mina na problem ya ku ri a ni voni masiku loko ni vona masiku ntsena loko ni tirhisa philisi lero kunguhata leriya ra ku the oral one a ku please pfunani dokotela.
She needs to go and consult.
Yep.
For 3 reasons. One, unfortunately, I did malembe.
Okay.
But from what she's saying, she's probably less than 40.
Okay.
Number 2, bafane bateka ngati to check the hormones ta ye why angaboni the period. Number 3, va ta n'wi nyika maphilisi yo lawa ya nga ta endla leswi hi nge hi swi vitanaku i progesterone challenge. Number 4, they may need to check the chromosomes ta yena ku vona ku i 46XX kumbe i 46X whatever, to determine that, because we need to determine exactly where the problem is, and then once that has been determined, then a treatment plan is devised. But she needs to consult to have those things done.
Oh, okay.
So
Switzerland.
bangayi ba ku no ani voni ti-period ni la ku vona ti-period, you say no, I have not seen my period since it was me, the only time ni vona period hi loko ni teka leswi, and now I'm desiring ku va pregnant, or because you see the problem ya ku va ko tala vanhu va la ku treat symptom ni panda hi nhloko ni lava pilisi ra nhloko rather than trying to find out ku i ncini xi endla ku nhloko yi panda.
Oh, yeah.
And ku kuma ku i ncini xi endla ku nhloko yi panda can take longer, it needs a bit of patience, but it's a much better way of doing it, because at the end you get to the cause of the problem and treat it easily.
Dr Mbokota va kumaka nomboro leyi fambaka laha ka xikiri xa wena mingiseri va kumeka na le ka website yaleyo ya www.hwcw.co.za kumbe ka 010 020 8569 i life read le doc and i life read yena dura life read must loko muhaxa fana hlaya life read studio ntsengo ko va u ri henhla tshemba u hlamuleki tiselani vhele kambe ku na Grace Tintswalo, DJ Brian na dokodela. Xana nkarhi wa menopause wa hela na phela ya hi hluphekisa vana va Xikwembu ngopfungopfu ximumu lexiwani a ku ri naswona ku hava swo nwanyana ku va munhu a hatla a hundza xinwelo lexi ke
Swi koho swona. Swi koho swona. Ku na the-hormone supplements which you can take. Of course, they are not without side effects, but you get assessed to see which one best suits you. Vanhu vo tala, they are in this period, they are the symptoms of menopause, where they have all these difficulties for a period of 5 to 6 years, 10 years, and after that it stops. You know, so ku hela those symptoms, but it doesn't mean menopause is really. Menopause and continues because you are not seeing your periods. That's the meaning of the word menopause.
Doc, matsundzuka xivutiso xa nonhle le ndzhaku nyana le.
Yes.
U ri na follow up question ka siku namuntlha hi ndlela leyiwani u ri which prevention method can best suit me ka xiyimo lexi ni nga ka xona hi yo mhaka ni la ku ri twisa kona ma hi tsundzuka ke.
Yeah.
And then of course I was on the Messilon. Yes, and the side effects were bad, so I stopped. I also tried I tried the trimester injection, which had me to menstruate for the whole 3 months. Agori Trifacil, Agori no tightens my chest. Or would you advise that I see a gynae?
Okay, one, the best advice is yes, to see a gynecologist. 2, the most likely treatment depends on what you want.
Okay.
If you want to fall pregnant, the treatment is different. If you want to control your period, the treatment is different. So, for example, if you want to control your periods and you are not wanting to fall pregnant, contraceptives, then the best contraceptives in that case kutava the ones that contain a chemical is cyproterone acetate. Now, I'm not going to mention the name because then I'll be selling.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it contains cyproterone acetate. That cyproterone acetate is an anti-androgen, so it's a hormone that fights and reduces your testosterone in the female.
Yeah.
It also then would help you with, for example, the oiliness of the skin, and if you've got pimples, it will also help with that. So there's various brands that a hormone. It's called estrogen, and the testosterone in there is called a cyproterone acetate.
Oh, okay. Se banwi na vadzahi dokodela swi va khumba ku fana kumbe swi va khumba ku fana loko va ri ka xiyimo xa menopause kumbe a swi proviwa scientifically?
Ka lava dzahaku na lava nwaku, fole whether hi leritsongo kumbe lerikulu, one ri causa leswi hi nge i damage to misiha ya ngati to an extent ya ku ya tiya misiha liya ene ngati yi nga ha koti ku nghena. And therefore, if you want to deal with issues of dryness, issues of desire, and issues of libido, that immediately gets affected because of the what we call vascular damage leyi causaku hi cigarette. Alcohol yi
Loko ya moyeni.
causa vasodilatation,
Le moyeni.
the vessels ta pfuleka, and that increases the hot flashes. And then because both of them affect the kidneys, you then have a challenge yaku. Your kidneys may not be able to excrete or release whatever supplements that you may be taking, the byproducts takona, very quickly. So both of them have got an effect,
Yeah.
and the effects are different, but both effects are bad.
A ni gola ku ya moyeni luya a ni fonela lan'wani se ni ku yimanyana ha lunghisa tiko la ya ku ri na n'wana a ni fonela la se ni ri hi le moyeni a ni ku ni mutini mike kambe doc ku ka xivutiso xa nkoka ngopfu hi nga se hambana va ri mhaka leya menopause swikombiso leswiyani kumbe swikohito leswiyani swa ti-symptoms ta doc va ri swa fambana swa nyamalala kumbe swi va kona ku kondza hosi vitana?
No. So ka vanhu vo tala loko va teka treatment after 5, 6, 7 years, then they stop. What people should learn, they must go and study Japanese people. The Japanese don't even have a word for menopause, and Japanese women don't struggle with the menopausal symptoms.
Oh.
And it may be because of the diet that they eat. Because diet, one, the Japanese boil everything.
Okay.
And number two, they usually eat food in its natural form. I mean, sometimes they take a fish inside the fish tank.
By disassociation.
But it contains their vegetables to contain a lot of legumes. I think you know legumes, mainly beans, because legumes are the ones that provide you with plant proteins. And the plant proteins will then provide the amino acids that are used to build up some of these hormones.
Oh.
So the Japanese diet, for some reason, seems to be protective. The Chinese are using something called ginseng, which people find in a lot of shops, but you have to take gallons and gallons of it. And then anyway, vanhu va hala ka Nxumalo va tidela mtsumbu.
David doc kambe xo hetelela xivutiso se ku sa timinete timbirhi swa ku ri awara la yi fika ripele doc na DJ Brian va ri 2 months pregnant mara ni ve ni vona mhaka bleeding ni swi vone ku nga ri khale ngopfu swi possible sweswo ke na ku va lava ku twisisa ku ri n'wana a nga va a tshamisekile ke?
Number one, we must be sure we're pregnant. Number two, once Kubana that bleeding, 2 months pregnant, we call that a threatened miscarriage. So she needs to consult, bed rest, avoid intimacy, and then look the ultrasound, ba make sure kuna n'wana wa hanya. Then batanguniketa a progesterone supplement that she can take until the bleeding stop. That's all that can be done. The rest is we give that bed rest and pray hard.
Namita doc kuna xivutiso xin'wanyana interesting. Does andropause happens at the same time or the same age as women in andropause doc?
It's it's when men cease having androgens. Androgens is testosterone, or their levels drop, or what is incorrectly called male menopause, because it can't be
Yes.
menopause because there's no menstruation in males.
Menstruation. So it's andropause. Wow.
Yes.
Khensa ni khensile. So ba ri swa ku fana na va xinuna na malembe ya kona swa yelana na va xisati.
Not necessarily, because it always depends kotala on their genetics, but usually for men it's some things that happen from around after about 55, almost going to 60. But nako, it's
Yeah.
not as pronounced. They wouldn't get hot flashes and things like that. It mainly manifests as what we call erectile dysfunction.
So kuna early andropause.
If there's andropause, there could be early andropause, and mainly caused by alcohol, cigarette, diabetes, blood pressure.
Sure. Doc, kuna buku yin'wana hi nge fambi hi nga yi pfulanga. Levitica. Yi ri yini? Hi leyi la tlhelo.
Leviticus
Yehova
12.
a byela Moshe a ku byela vana va Israyele u ku ku ta ku loko wansati a velekile n'wana wa wanuna a ta va loyi a nga tengangiki, n'wansati loyi u ta va loyi a nga tengangiki hi masiku ya 5 na 2. U ta yila ku kotisa emasikwini ya yena eka tin'hweti ta yena. Siku ra vu-5 na 3 va ta yimbisa n'wana, kutani hi masiku lama 13 wansati u ta tshama ekaya hikwalaho ka ngati ya yena, a ri karhi a hlamba, a nga tshuki a khumba xilo lexi xi kwetsimeke, a tlhela futhi a nga ka a nga yi ekukwetsimelweni ku va ku hela masiku ya yena ya ku basisiwa. Hi hlayi version yin'wana namuntlha hi yima kwalaha Doc kumbexana yi vulavula yini la?
Look, nga rivali ku vana va Israel loko va huma Egypt, one of the things that they needed to be taught akuri hygiene. So some of these laws, especially between Leviticus 12 and 15, ti vulavula hi hygiene.
Yeah.
And laha ti vulavula hi ku loko ka ha ku kumeka n'wana, how a woman should be respected. And masiku lawa loko ya hlanganisa 7 plus 33 ya endla 40, which is 6 weeks.
Sure.
And this is the very same time laying in medicine ku loko ha ku kuma n'wana, the period leyi vitana ku puerperium, where everything is returning to the pre-pregnancy stage, is 6 weeks. That's why we are after 6 weeks. But there's something banga shutsala la which talks about the woman being impure
Yeah.
in Karwalo. People will remember there's a story at Bibelen of a woman who was struggling in menstruation. In the Bible, they call it the woman with the issue of blood.
Yeah.
That story is narrated in the 3 Gospels, Matthew, Mark, and Luke. Now, this woman was bleeding, which means she was unclean. And then she goes and touches Jesus. So here now, Jesus then became unclean because he was touched by her.
Uchilafechi.
But he had to deal. Naku Jairus, the leader of the synagogue, asa reported mwana wa 12 years wavabza. So Jesus was still supposed to leave that place. So hikuya now, after that woman had touched the hem of Jesus's garment and she got healed, Jesus was not supposed to go to Jairus because he was now ceremonially unclean. But that's where you contrast the law and grace. Tintswalo. So as soon as the woman with the issue of blood was healed, what happened was that Jairus got a message. No, no, no. Don't trouble him. Your daughter has died. And Jesus hears this and then he says, no, 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 Jairus, do not be afraid, just believe. Now he now violates this part of the law in order to propagate grace. Even though she has touched me, and according to Jairus, who was the leader of the synagogue, he knew this law. I may be unceremonially unclean, but because mina say a grace kumetintswalo, I will still go to your house and help you and get this child to come back to life, even though bar ulobile. That's why he went there. Afika hlongola the hired mourners, and every people kuna the professional mourners aba hire ukuba tarila aba umesa everybody, and then kusala yena with his three na mani na papa wa n'wana, and then akutalita tikumu, and then Talita woke up and then she was alive. And so he does this when by law he was ceremonially unclean. He was not supposed to do it.
Talita tikum, yes. Tuka sungwana un'wana a vita khampani ya yena vito rero loko yini se isikas se ni swi tiva hi 2021 dog ya sabisekanga dokotela khensa mativa na khensa swinene ngopfu a hi hlangana na vhiki ri taka loko hosi swi rhandzini hi ndlela leyo hi karhi hi bona leswi va swi vulaka na vayingiseri ku ri va dyondza siku na siku i mhaka yikulu swinene ngopfu hi ndlela leyo a khensa dok nkarhi wa n'wina i khensa swinene ngopfu hi pamanta vuyelela va karhi va khensa vuhaxi lebyiwani na mingiseri a hi nge byi susi laniwani byi ri ka tiplatform leti nga ti ku vona ka yona vhele ku nga va ku ri Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, YouTube. Hi khensa na ku nga mi subscribe ka vhele eka channel yani ya DJ Brian channel ti hlayani ta ka ti komba vhele. Oh, by the way doc hi le ka 22 million namuntlha. Yeah, 22 million ka YouTube. Yeah, 22 million.
I know.
Siyako.
Ara swi beriwa mandla me kuma 99% mnzu.
Eish dog yeah ndazama vhiki ri nga hundza ri kume 85% a swi nga bihanga vhiki ro sungula ri kume 98 yeah ivi yeah
kuma 99.
Hey, ni ya ku tsaleni mindzuku la khensa dog loko uza ku vula n'wina fane kuma 99 ni ya yi kuma ya ta yi kuma loko u vula n'wina dog swa
koteka loko van'wana va yi kuma iwe u ta tsandzini
a ku pasi munhu leyi va ku pasa mina ntsena
swi kahle
dog
va ta tshika ku delela vanhu va le Limpopo
dog inkomo yi hlangana vhiki ri taka sweswo vhele Afrika-Dzonga nge hi hlangana vhiki ri taka hi kunene inkomo swinene rhulani ya ku vona vhele Clementine a ni ku ri na va ku vitelela yini va ku vitana Clementine va ri tata vona n'wi byeli Clementine ku ri vuhaxi lebyi a hi nge byi susile ku heta hi byi tshika kwala ka platform leyiwani vhele Afrika-Dzonga kusuka ka mina minyamatsi ni nga chava ku loko ndzi tekela nhlokweni vhele mapotipoti tlivovo na khensa swinene ngopfu vhele vana va ka ri na hina ka siku ri namuntlha Fortune Tlangi a khensa the TSH Holdings a khensa swinene ngopfu kambe na hina eka madyamba siku ri namuntlha kusukela ka YouTube ka siku na vana Don Chabalala inkomo swinene ka siku n'wana kambe a nga ba mandla vuyele mali nga ri na n'wamlambya plan inkomo swinene ka sike TikTok DC inkomo swinene toko ka sike n'wana kambe ka YouTube i mandla mathosi na khensa i mandla na semba subscribe ino tlhawu press na bell button la ku loko hi va hi ri moyeni kumbe hi posta swin'wanyana i vuka ro swi vona hi ndlela n'wana kambe nga ka YouTube i mani nga ri na Dyson Chabalala namuntlha hi ku mhaka ya menopause va ka hina kusuka ka mina minyamatsi ni nga chava ku na kondzo nga ku peace love and happiness a hi hlangana mindzuku eka radio ni famba hi ndlela leyi vhela a bye-bye.
Get peace of mind knowing that your car, house, and business are in good hands. We quote various insurance companies and get you the best quote which is suitable for you and affordable. Save more money, quick, easy, with plain language. We are at 52 Beggar Street, Loitrigat. Call us now for an affordable quotation on 015-516-1296. Morobi Financial Services. You always enjoy peace of mind and authorized financial services provider.